Hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kasha for those of you who are watching my videos for the first time, and I am a first-time mama to one sweet little baby boy who is going to be 2 in September. He's actually turning 22 months on the 19th, so really soon we're gonna have a 2-year-old on our hands. But for those of you who are new to my channel, welcome, and I'm so glad that you clicked on this video. So today, as you can probably tell by the title of this video, I am doing a sit-down video kind of talking about things that I regret doing with Joey as a parent and things that I would just definitely do differently or just not do at all with future babies down the road. So I just want to give a disclaimer, and I just want to say, if you don't like my parenting style, or if you just feel like some of the things that I'm about to say you just don't agree with, just simply click off this video. It's okay. I'm just sharing what I did as a parent and what I think just didn't work for both Joe and I, and I'm just sharing this just to help any mama out. If I can even help just one mama out there, that is amazing. And I am very open. I share a lot of my life, and I do this for the reason that I just want to be an open book. I want to be a resource to other moms, especially if you are expecting, or maybe you are a new mama and you are also struggling through some of the similar things that we are going through. And I just kind of wanted to share. So Joey is, like I said, already about to be 2 years old. So what I'm about to talk about, it's things that go all the way from basically when he was born all the way up until now. And I made a list just so I don't forget to talk about anything, just because whenever I'm talking to you guys on the camera, I feel like my head is more focused on talking into the camera. So that is why I made a list. So I have the list right over here on my computer. So if you see me looking in this direction, it's just because I just don't want to forget anything, and I want to make sure I cover everything. But like I said, if you just don't agree with some of the things I'm saying, or if maybe something makes you angry or an emotion that you don't like, it's okay. Everyone is different. Everyone's parenting style is different. I'm just sharing what we have struggled through and what I plan on not doing in the future, and just kind of tweaking it so we have a more seamless parenting journey, if that makes sense. But without further ado, let's get into the struggles. So the first struggle, or the first thing that I would do differently is, and again, this is what I feel like might get the most hate or bash for, but when Joey was a newborn, I wish that we had done more tummy time with him. If you guys have been following me for a while, you would know that Joey did not start walking until he was 19 months old. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. His pediatrician was never concerned. I was really never concerned. Neither was Joe. But I definitely do think maybe the tummy time did have something to do with it. He also did not really crawl at he didn't reach a lot of the bigger milestones at the expected time, which I am very much an advocate that every baby is different and every baby has their own timeline. And if there is not really anything serious medically going on, it's just kind of the baby's development takes off at different times depending on your child. And there was nothing wrong with Joey, and we were not concerned, like I said. However, I do think that the tummy time maybe was something that we just kind of got lazy with. And another big factor I think that played into not doing as much as we wish we would have is the fact that we were living with my parents at the time. And again, I'm not bashing anyone for this. I'm just sharing our experience. And basically, I think because of living with my parents, there was always someone around who wanted to watch Joey, who wanted to play with Joey, and it was almost just there was not a lot of time that he had that was just independent baby play, if that makes sense. So definitely I think with baby number 2, we will try to do more tummy time. It might be easier now since we are living by ourselves, and obviously with already having a toddler, it would be kind of more forced that sometimes you have to lay your baby down, your newborn down, and they have to be a little bit more independent at times. So I definitely will be trying to do more tummy time, and I encourage you to do more tummy time with your baby. I think in the long run, it does affect your baby and just developing muscles and everything like that. Now Joey has flourished. He's been walking, he's running, he's climbing, but I definitely do want to do more tummy time with baby number 2. So that's kind of the first thing. So now the second thing that I regret is I think relying on the binky too much from the very beginning. And this is one of those things where both Joe and I, we both said that our kids are never going to use a binky, it's bad for them. We don't want to be those parents. And I'm here telling you now, I don't think I would not do the binky at all with future kiddos. However, I do think I would definitely from the very beginning not try to rely on it so much, especially seeing now how dependent Joey is on it. And I would try to implement other soothing strategies, which is kind of like what my next point will be in talking about like the lovey. But basically with the binky from the very beginning at the hospital when he was born, I think this comes down to like that whole birthing experience. The nurses and everything were great. However, my milk did not come in until around like day 4 or 5, and there was barely any colostrum too. Like from the very beginning at the hospital, there was just not much of it. There wasn't much of it until, like I said, day 4 or 5, which I know is not everyone's experience. That is just mine. But because of this, I felt like Joey was just super fussy the whole time. He was definitely hungry, and no one offered us like supplemental feedings with formula. And I didn't even know that you can ask for that. And maybe that sounds silly, and maybe you think like that's dumb. How did she not know that? How did her husband not know that? We honestly just didn't know. They were pushing breastfeeding so much on us, and the lactation consultant came in and like she was trying to get him to latch, and then finally one of the nurses was just like, why don't we try giving a binky? Like that was the solution she proposed. We did it. It helped him soothe because he finally got to suck on something and he could like latch onto it. You guys know newborns love something in their mouth. And basically from that day on, we have relied on the binky so much. Like even today, he takes the binky with him in the car. He takes it when he gets fussy. He needs it to sleep. And so I wish from the very beginning, instead of just re-popping in the binky when he was trying to sleep or like in the middle of the night to like get him to soothe, I wish that we would have just let him like fuss around more without it and only gave it to him like when he was going to go to sleep, or if he was fussing a little bit but he was awake, but once he spit it out and he didn't seem like he would want it anymore, I wish that we would have just proposed other soothing strategies, which is kind of what brings me to my next point, and it's the lovey. And I wish we would have introduced a lovey to Joey from the very beginning, or like some sort of stuffed animal that he could have just like associated with, and that was like almost like his soothing comfort. So for those of you who have been following me for a while and have been watching my videos, you guys know Joey has a giraffe, and that is his lovey. And I only introduced this giraffe to him like a couple months ago, and it was once we moved here and I wanted him to feel like just like safer and in a new environment, and I just wanted him to like associate something with comfort that wasn't just his binky. And in the back of my mind, I also thought that one day when we are finally ready to rip the band-aid off and get rid of the binky completely, that at least he will have something that helps him soothe and helps him sleep, because the binky is something that he relies on for sleep. So the lovey, he loves his lovey. He does great with his lovey. Sometimes he goes during the day periods of just the lovey, which is what we do try to do. We do try to take away the binky and hide it, and then if he's really fussing, we give him his lovey, which is what I'm totally okay with. And I wish that that was the case for every fussing period, but it is what it is. But I wish we would have introduced the lovey sooner, and I think because of that, we would have been less reliant on the binky and maybe not have had a strong connection with the binky like we do now. Because right now, we are going to try to get rid of it soon, maybe around 2 or after he's potty trained, we're going to see. But the next thing that I regret not doing with Joey, and we'll definitely try to do with Joey, and this was also kind of like out of laziness, ease, it was just easier to do it this way, and that is not getting rid of a nipple bottle right like as soon as we could have for him to drink milk out of. So Joey is still taking milk from a nipple bottle, and I think that it's not the end of the world. It's okay if your baby still does this. I know that the recommendations are like around a year to try and get rid of that, and we did attempt to try to get rid of it. However, all of the bottles that we like proposed to him, he just did not like them. He couldn't get it to suck. It wasn't like an easy flow. He really had to work for it, and he didn't like it. He would get so frustrated. He takes milk before he goes to bed, so it was just kind of like all around, it would have created chaos during like the whole entire day. So we just decided to stick with the Dr. Brown bottles that we use, and we've been using the Dr. Brown bottles since he was little. All we did was we transitioned to a plastic one, so it's easier for him to hold, to at least get him to hold his own bottle, which he caught on like a champ. He was so good at that, so it wasn't like we were physically holding the bottle for him to eat. However, this also I think is partially kind of like our fault, but also like I didn't know that like the Dr. Brown made like those bottles with like the straw that you can use to transition your baby if they are a Dr. Brown bottle feeding baby into like a bottle that's very similar. However, it's like the straw attachment and then they just hold it and then it's like more of a sippy cup. I wish we would have known about that and then I would have tried doing that with him. But honestly, the recommendation is around a year to try to get rid of the bottle. If I were to do it all over again with baby number 2, I would have tried sooner. Joey, we introduced the sippy cup to him at 4 months old. He caught on to like the Munchkin straw sippy cup right away. He's known how to drink from a sippy cup since he was 4 months old. I honestly think that I would have tried to introduce milk from something else around like 8-ish months old if I saw that he was ready to do it, and I would just do this simply because it would have been an easier transition. There wouldn't have been a fight about it, and now I feel like in order to transition him off the bottle, it's not going to be transitioning him off the nipple bottle. It's just going to be trying to get rid of those milk feedings, which I don't know, maybe we will be able to do. Maybe we'll buy a different sippy cup. I don't know. We will see. I will keep you guys updated on that, but I do wish that we would have gotten him off the bottle sooner because right now he very much likes the bottle. He doesn't like drinking milk out of anything else. And I think if we were to introduce something completely different and try to get him to drink out of it, it would just be a massive tantrum. And the younger they are, the easier they are. So now the next thing that I regret not doing with Joey and that I wish we kind of did differently also has to do with eating, and that this kind of has to do with like a current problem that we have right now, and that is I wish we would have skipped purees with Joey completely when he was ready for solids, and I wish we would have just done strict baby-led weaning, and I wish that we would have introduced a huge variety of foods to him, and I wish that I would have looked into it a little bit more because now currently we have a very picky eater. Joey doesn't like to eat a lot of foods. I know some toddlers are very picky eaters, and a lot of times babies will not be picky eaters, and then as they start developing their taste more and they start getting older and they realize that they can say no to things, I know that some babies become picky then, but Joey is like to the point where he doesn't even like eating at the table right now. He kind of does his own thing. There was never really a strict routine with feedings. I would say at the very beginning when we started solids with him and we started at 4 months and we started doing the purees, he was definitely always like in his high chair eating. But then I think where we fell through was when we moved here in end of December, beginning of January. It was just kind of almost like that was a change in itself. We transitioned him from the high chair to eating at a booster seat. He doesn't like the booster seat anymore because he would like try to play with the clasps and then it would get like his skin stuck. And so currently we are off the booster seat and he's sitting at the table, which I think is perfectly fine. However, since there was never like a super strong association with him sitting at the table once we transitioned him to the booster seat, it's just kind of a mess. So I think it is purely that we got kind of lazy. We need to backtrack. We are going to try to fix this issue. But I think the root of the issue is that he doesn't like a lot of foods. So his favorite foods are snack foods. And so it's just easier to give him snacks versus like sitting him down at the table, especially when he's really crying about it. But it is just something we have to work through. I definitely recommend if you have a little one, look into baby-led weaning, kind of figure out what strategy works for you. And even if you do choose to go down the puree route, I think that's still perfectly fine. Just make sure you're introducing a lot of different flavors to your baby, because I think very much a lot of habits are made very young and associations are made when they're very young. So if he were to know those flavors and were to know those foods, I think it would have been easier for us now to just feed him different foods versus kind of being very limited with what he wants to eat. And it's not always like the best and most nutritious for him. So I definitely say do your research when it comes to eating, because something that we got lazy with is the whole food thing. And I just regret that we did. But again, parenting is hard and sometimes you get a little lazy. We just have to fix it. It's okay. So now the last things that I'm going to talk about is kind of like play and just like his activities and things like that. These are not like huge things. We've already kind of been working on them, but something that I do wish we would have done with Joey is I wish we would have introduced sensory bins to him sooner, and I wish I would have done more of them with him, because now currently I have been doing more sensory bins with him and more like Montessori style play and more like just trying to encourage him to be as independent as possible. And Joey is very good at independent play. I cannot say anything bad or like complain about that. Joey does independent play so well. He does it very well for me. He does it very well for my mom when he's over at my mom's house and she is watching him. He is just very good with it. And I think that is because once we moved here, we just were not always able, there wasn't always somebody around to be playing with him. So I think that is where his independent play really took off. And as both Joe and I were always, there's always something to do when you're a parent, so you can't always focus all your attention on your child. So I think that definitely played a role in it. But the sensory bin aspect, he does enjoy very hands-on things. He enjoys building, stacking, doing puzzles, just like playing with stuff, scooping stuff and dumping it, your typical toddler. So I just wish we would have introduced that to him sooner, because I think it would even more so help with his fine motor skills. His fine motor skills are very much, I would even say, kind of like advanced. Even when we go to the pediatrician, she's always like, oh, he can do stack this and this many blocks. So I guess he's kind of exceeding in the fine motor skills aspect of it, which I also think has to do with the fact that he was not doing his gross motor skills for longer than what he should have. So I think that more so of the development went into his fine motor skills, so which is totally fine. I just wish we would have done more sensory bins, because it would have just given us an activity to do, and it's also just something that is not necessarily always buying new toys. So sensory bins, if you're a new mama, I would definitely say look into those. It helps with a lot of their development, and I just think that it is overall a benefit to do with your baby. And then the last thing that I kind of like regret doing, and we've kind of already fixed this issue, and that is the TV. So screen time. So I don't think screen time is a bad thing whatsoever. I think screen time is actually very good, especially if you are just a mama who's tired and you just need a breather and you want to show your kids something educational. Like Joey, whenever we do show him the TV, it's Miss Rachel. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. However, since Joey has started becoming more emotional and like being able to throw pretty big tantrums, we have noticed that the TV in itself has been a huge reason why he was throwing tantrums, and he's gotten to the point where he would get off the TV and he would just start screaming and crying. And so we've kind of already fixed this, like I said, and basically what I did was one morning he woke up, and usually he plays very well independently. However, this morning he charged straight into the living room and wanted the TV right away, and I was like, there's just no way, I'm not turning the TV on for him the second he gets up. I just don't want to be doing that. So I kind of let him cry it out. I sat with him as he was crying, and I just explained to him that he can't have the TV, and ever since that day he doesn't ask for it. Now, am I never going to give it to him ever again? No, there probably will come a point, but as of right now, if he does start eagering towards the couch, or if he starts getting sleepy, and it's just times in which the TV would almost be like the ease to do in that moment for me as a parent, I kind of just come up with distractions. And this is kind of like where the sensory bins come into play, giving him different things that aren't toys to play with to help get his mind off the TV and help him entertain himself even more before it's nap time, before bedtime, before like those crisis periods of the day. So I just don't give him the TV, and it's been working out great. He's been throwing a lot less tantrums, but these are just kind of like the things that I regret doing and things that I would do differently as a parent. Again, every parent is so different. Every baby is so different. I hope that this helps you in any way that it can. I am no expert. I am just sharing what we have done with Joey. I am sure that baby number 2 will come one day, and I'm still gonna feel like I messed up in some areas, but it's okay. It's all a learning process. Nobody is perfect. Your baby's not perfect. You're not perfect. It's okay, as long as you're loving on your baby and they are fed, they are healthy. That is all you can ask for. So if you enjoyed watching this video, if this was of any help to you, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel if you're already not, and you can also check out my Instagram, which is also always linked below. It's a new one. It's also at Kasha Glassman, so I will link that for you guys below, and then I will see you guys in my next videos. Bye.